into board, catches your stars. You know he's not like the others. And I would give the right side of my brain to flip that switch back on again and leave California with you. Flip ahead into the unknown. I threw you a rope, didn't see that one coming. And with all my might I pardoned a curse and carried your purse once again to the hills of dying at your side. I've always been the beaten down, the last one in line for your love, and that's how I like it. 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 That's how I That's how I like it. That's how I like it. That's how I like it.
When I was about, I guess, 7 or 8 years old, I met Frankie in grade school, and he always kind of stuck out as that odd cat, you know. In grade school, he carried around a knife even in grade school, and had bright red hair and wore a leather jacket, and I always remember his dad smelling like my dad because they both worked with paint and stuff like that. And, you know, fast forward to middle school, he and I kind of buddied up, you know, and then high school, we were looking, in my first band, Anthem, we were looking for somebody to play guitar and sing and stuff like that. So we interviewed Frankie, and it was pretty interesting. He had a lot of energy and had a lot of really fast riffs, and his dad was always behind him, you know, trying to push him, you know, to be, you know, play the Ramones style punk rock stuff. And I think, I don't know if it was like 6 months or a year that went by, but the band, we all got in an argument, and me and Frankie were on one side and the other two guys were on the other. And we were like, screw this, we're gonna start our own band. And so in high school, freshman year of high school, we started Spectre 45. in 2010, the New Year's Eve of 2010, Frankie and I were playing a show, and he after the show he's just not doing real well, and I took him home, and we talked for a while. I knew he wasn't in a good place, and I asked if he wanted to come home, you know, with me, and he said yes. And then he kind of changed his mind, but I thought he was okay, you know. And then I got a phone call. His dad was on the phone, and I knew exactly what was going on. I just could hear it. And Frankie took his own life. And that was a breaking point for me and my bassist Adam at the time. And we went into this cycle of just getting fucked up, and you know, emotions. You know, nearly my 10-year span of being in a band, you know, ended at that point. You know, with my best friend committing suicide. My parents took me to where they live in Terrell. I was staying out there for a little while, and you know, I got a phone call again, and this time it was somebody telling me that Adam, my bassist, committed suicide. So that, you know, left me as the only member of my own band, and it just added fuel to fire, you know, on all that. And it took me years to get to a place where I felt normal again, you know, and didn't want to kill myself or get fucked up and all that kind of stuff. And in the meantime, you know, people all around the neighborhood were going through troubles, and more people committed suicide, you know, like Brian Aguilar, you know, and Scott. It just became obvious that it was a huge issue, and I kind of chose to just kind of continue to take care of myself and move forward in my path of life. And then one of the guys that I went to rehab with, somebody that I was really close to, that I would have considered my kind of next best friend, you know, his family took me into their house when I was in rehab and let me sleep there. He ended up relapsing, and then he took his own life. And that was the final straw for me. You know, at that moment, I pretty much decided that I needed to do something. And I felt like that, you know, with what I had been through, and the connections and the people that we knew, and the reach that our band had, that we could potentially make something out of this that could help people. And so I partnered up with a few old friends, and we started this thing, you know, called Foundation 45, and we just started getting like-minded people on board with us.
Foundation 45 really works on trying to make sure that we approach mental health and addiction issues in a totally different way. It's not your typical stuffy suit and tie kind of environment. We meet around Deep Ellum and plan to expand into other kind of entertainment neighborhoods. Our counselors are licensed professionals, and they're completely skilled in what they're doing, but they understand kind of that rock and roll mentality that we're built off of, that the brand's built off of. And I think that's why people respond so well to us, is because it's a place where you can come and you can talk about your life as a bartender or your life as a local musician, or the things that happen when you're out in the neighborhood. And it's not an instant judgment because you live a certain lifestyle or you go to certain places or maybe you dress a certain way. It's really about getting to the core of issues. And so many people who have come to our groups say just that they've been turned off to traditional counseling. They've been turned off to a lot of the free options that were out there because they're either faith-based or they're extremely conservative, and they didn't feel right. There wasn't a good fit. And so that's kind of the core, is to take those mental health and addiction services and give them a little bit of a spin to where it feels like it's normal, and kind of break that stigma attached to them.
Yeah, I completely agree. And then kind of part of my experience was, when I was trying to get help those first couple of years, I remember looking for somebody that would help me or a group that would help me. And I landed in a church lost group, survivors group. And I told them my story, and I had people crying around me and super giving me a hug. And at the time, it's it was really sweet and they were doing their best, but I was looking for a solution, you know what I mean? A way to kind of get help and not feel like people felt sorry for me, because that doesn't help the problem, you know what I mean? And part of my image that I think a lot of us share is we look at the loved ones that we had lost, and we kind of think about what kind of group would have helped them, you know what I mean? Frankie didn't really say anything. I mean, a couple times early on he talked about suicide, especially when one of our bandmates had talked about it to us. He kind of opened up. That was just the one time. He was kind of like the strong figure in our band. So I kind of looked at this group personally as a group that would pierce through that hardcore mentality of a musician that doesn't want to lose their creative edge. You know what I mean? Because that's part of the fear, the stigma behind it is people think that if they go and get help, they're gonna lose that creative edge, or the group is gonna want to take something from them. And it's quite the opposite. It's actually a bunch of people that are just like you that tell you whether they're having a hard time or whether they've gotten through the hard time that you've talked about. You know what I mean? And it's real and it's raw.
I remember the first time we had somebody tell us that we had saved their life. It was really early on. And I remember standing outside with you and saying, man, everything that we do from now on is 100% worth it, because that one person is still here, right? And so what we've done so far helped that one person, and now it doesn't matter. To save one life was more than enough, and there's definitely the stress level of the stuff that we do, because we have really big dreams, and we don't really like to be told no either, so those two things could be really dangerous together. But it, when you get stressed out, or you feel overworked, or you're not sure how you're going to get anything done, that's what I like to do. I like to sit there and I like to think about, there are people who have told us that they're alive because of the services that we offer.